Hey there, House here. Well, it finally happened. I had a good week. I went 12-4, bringing my overall record to 31, 32, and 1. All right, so we're not quite at 500 just yet, but I'm getting there. All right, let's roll right into week 5, shall we? First up, Thursday night, we have the Broncos versus the Colts. Both teams are missing their number one running backs, with Javonte Williams tearing his ACL and LCL last week, and Jonathan Taylor having a high ankle sprain also last week. Both are not going to play in this game. I'm expecting their backups not to perform all that well. It's going to be more of a quarterback matchup between Wilson and Ryan, and I know that Wilson has had his struggles, but he's still a far and away better quarterback than Matt Ryan at the moment, so I'm picking the Broncos. Next up on Sunday, we have another London game. It's going to be the Packers versus the Giants. The Giants are dealing with a question mark at quarterback. Tyrod Taylor, who came into the game last week for the injured Daniel Jones, left rather quickly with a concussion. And Daniel Jones was still very clearly favoring that ankle, so it's a question as to will either of them be available for this game on Sunday, as well as if they are available, how many practice reps are they actually going to get before game time? With those factors, I'm picking the Packers in this matchup. Next, we've got the Patriots versus the Lions. All right, now I know that I have gotten every pick wrong when it comes to a Lions game so far this year, and I promise you that if the Lions find a way to lose again, I'm not picking them for the rest of the year. I don't care what the scenarios are, what everybody's predictions are saying. The Lions are a guaranteed winner to win this upcoming game. I'll pick against them if I get this one wrong. They're going against the Patriots, who are also dealing with an injury at the quarterback position. Mac Jones didn't play last week due to a high ankle sprain as well, and the backup Brian Hoyer left that game with concussion, so they're going with a third-string rookie. The Lions are going to be missing more than likely DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown, but they didn't have either of those guys last week, and they found a way to put up a lot of points, so they should be able to move the ball against the Patriots. I'm picking the Lions. Don't let me down. Next up, we have the Browns versus the Chargers. The Chargers, as I stated in a previous video, Justin Herbert is getting healthier. His fractured rib cartilage is healing as it should be. He hasn't had any kind of setback. And that'll be key going against this Browns team that is a run-first offense. I think with an even healthier Justin Herbert, they'll be able to push past this Browns team. Next up, we have the Jaguars versus the Texans. Last week was a miserable week for Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. He fumbled the ball 4 times and threw interception against the Eagles in a really sloppy day in Jacksonville. I'm expecting it to go a little bit better this time around. I'm sure all week in practice they worked on ball security. I'm thinking a lot less turnovers as they roll right through this Texan team. All right, we have the Bucs versus the Falcons. Last week, the Falcons and Marcus Mariota struggled to really do anything well offensively, and I don't think that's really going to change against this Buc team that showed last week that they can put up a lot of points when they're healthy and they have the receivers back, which they do at this moment. So I'm picking Brady and the Bucs. All right, next up we have the Bills versus Steelers. I'm predicting a little bit of a blowout here. The Steelers, partway through last week's game, and have announced throughout, I would assume the rest of the season, are going to go with rookie quarterback Pickett. It's either Pickett or Pickens. They have a rookie receiver that also goes by a similar name. They're going with the rookie quarterback over Mitch Trubisky. When he came in last week, he fumbled the ball and had a couple of turnovers as well in his first game. I think he's going to have a tough challenge against this Bills team, and they're just going to go right through him. I'm picking the Bills. All right, we have the Jets versus the Dolphins. The Jets also last week had the return of their starting quarterback, Zach Wilson. He played well enough to win the game, which I did not anticipate, but he did struggle quite a bit. He had a lot of turnovers. They didn't look very good on offense. And I know the Dolphins are going to be without Tua, but with Teddy Bridgewater, a steady veteran, and Tyreek Hill running down the field, they should be able to win this one. I'm picking the Dolphins. All right, we have the Vikings versus the Bears. As they showcased last week, and they'll probably continue to showcase, the Bears don't have a lot on offense. They are expecting Montgomery to come back from injury as he has been practicing a little bit more this week. I don't think that's going to be enough against this Viking team, though. I'm picking the Vikings. Commanders versus the Titans. Last week, the Titans and Derrick Henry got going early and often against the Colts team, and I'm expecting more of the same here against the Commanders. I'm picking the Titans. Saints versus Seahawks. The Saints are hoping to have a few more guys available this week than they did last week in London. Winston began practicing again. Michael Thomas is still dealing with an injury and is not practicing, but Alvin Kamara has been practicing, and they will expect him to be in the game. That's definitely going to help this offense. I don't believe it's going to do a lot, especially if Winston comes back, but he's still a little bit banged up. He's dealing with those fractures in his back. Seattle has a pass rush that can get to him and make him uncomfortable, and that'll just make things easier for Geno Smith and the Seahawks. Picking the Seahawks. Panthers versus the 49ers. I would not have anticipated that Baker Mayfield has played as bad as he has for the Panthers, and it's getting so bad that the fan base is booing him now at home just for how off that they've been. You figured they would probably play a little bit better than they're showing, but inconsistencies from Mayfield and some up and down performances from McCaffrey is really putting this team in a bad direction. I'm picking the 49ers in this one. Cardinals versus the Eagles. Now, this should be a game that a lot of people have circled on their calendar. A couple of high-powered offenses with some dynamic quarterback play and some defenses that don't do much to stop the ball. So it should be a high-scoring affair, very entertaining, but the Eagles are just rolling a little bit better right now, so I'm going with them. Next up, we have the Rams versus the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys have been rolling pretty well with Cooper Rush at quarterback, and last week, Matthew Stafford and the Rams offense looked lost against the 49ers. They got whooped on Monday night, and I don't expect a better result here against the Cowboys. All right, and then we have Sunday Night Football, Ravens versus the Bengals. Now, this also will be a very entertaining game, in my opinion. The last couple times that these two teams have met, they've been really high-scoring, and albeit sometimes a little one-sided. Joe Burrow's stat line for the two games last year against the Ravens, he put up over 450 and then over 500 passing yards in those games. They also put up over 40 points. I don't think it's going to be as much of a blowout, maybe not even that many points or yardages this time around, but he's starting to get a trend against the Ravens where he likes to show up and show off against them, so maybe it'll continue. Either way, I'm picking the Bengals. And lastly, we have Monday Night Football, Chiefs versus the Raiders. The Raiders got a win last week. They didn't look all that great doing it. They're still trying to find their way on offense. Adams did have a little bit better of a game, so maybe he's getting some more confidence with him and Carr, but their offense really doesn't have an identity outside of that. The Chiefs look like the Chiefs. They put up a lot of points really quickly last week against the Bucs, and I think to do the same here, I'm picking the Chiefs. Well, there you have it. Those are my NFL picks for Week 5. But before I leave you, I wanted to give you some predictions for this MLB postseason. Now, I'm not going to be giving you my full-length predictions. I'll plan on saving that for my next video, but I wanted to at least offer my predictions for the Wild Card Series that starts tomorrow. All right, for the first Wild Card Series, we will have the Guardians versus the Rays. Now, both teams have a more than solid pitching staff with starters and bullpen. Their offensive stack pretty similarly as well. The Guardians, however, have been swinging a bit better bat as of late, and they run the base paths better than any team in the postseason right now. That puts a lot of pressure on opposing teams and could be a difference maker in this series. I'm picking the Guardians here. Next series, we have the Blue Jays versus the Mariners. The Mariners made the playoffs and are snapping a 20-year playoff drought. They are the new, exciting team with plenty of young talent. With them being this young and going so long without a playoff berth, that means that a lot of these players will be making their debuts in a very stressful situation. The Blue Jays have a better offense, better pitching staff, and much more experience in the postseason. So they're going to take this series. All right, for the National League, we have the Cardinals versus the Phillies. Now, the Phillies are a team that are filled with notable names that consistently underperform. Common stats dictate that they have a very similar offense and pitching staff in comparison to the Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals have put together another strong season, but this one seems a bit different. Maybe that's because both Pujols and Molina are going to retire at the end of the season. This will mark the first time since 2003 that the Cardinals didn't have Pujols and Molina in a Cardinals uniform. That is one hell of a run. I think with this being their final playoff run together, it's going to be a decent one. And they're going to start with this one right here. I'm picking the Cardinals. Last National League Wild Card Series matchup, we have the Mets versus the Padres. Now, the Mets are a team that have a better offense and pitching staff. They also have guys by the name of DeGrom and Scherzer. And last time I checked, they're both pretty good when healthy, and they're both healthy right now. The Padres are a team that seem to trade for all kinds of talent that never produce when it counts. Maybe this year will be different. Maybe their big names will click. Maybe they won't have another disappointing finish. I don't believe so, however. I'm picking the Mets here. Well, that will officially conclude this video. Thank you for tuning into the House Report. If there were some selections that I made that you disagree with, please leave your own picks in the comment section. Lastly, for all my betting friends out there, remember, you win some and you lose some, but the house always wins.